So we have to teach our teams trust so that they will engage in good conflict. Now, some CEOs will say, I don't care if people get their feelings hurt, Pat. I just don't want to waste a bunch of time arguing. Why don't I just make the decision for them and we'll move on? I'll be their hero and save them 3 hours so they can go read email or something. But when we do that, when we skip over important conflict, we end up putting ourselves in a position to encounter the next dysfunction of a team, which is the lack of commitment. The lack of commitment. You see, when people don't weigh in on a subject, when there's no disagreement or conflict, when people don't weigh in, they don't buy into the decision. I fundamentally believe that. If people don't weigh in, they don't buy in. Now, just in case you think I'm arguing for consensus, please know, God bless you, that consensus to me is a 4-letter word. I don't like consensus. If we wait for consensus in our organizations, we will usually make decisions that are too late and mutually disagreeable to everyone. We need to be able to make this. We need to do what Intel, the chip manufacturer, the computer chip manufacturer talks about. They have this saying, they say, disagree and commit. What a beautiful thing. We can disagree, but then we can commit to an answer and walk out of the room together. But the only way to do that is if we as leaders provoke good, constructive conflict. We have to demand that the people that work for us weigh in. And we have a difficult decision to make. Are we going to expand or are we going to contract? What are we going to do? Are we going to build a satellite church or are we going to add on here, whatever it might be? And we have to sit down with our team and say, what do you think? And we have to demand that people stand up and weigh in. And then at the end of that discussion, when there's not a natural consensus, and there rarely is, if there is, hallelujah, thank God, we move on. But there's not a natural consensus, that's when we as leaders have to do what we're paid the medium-sized bucks to do, and that's break the tie. We have to say, I think I've heard from everybody here, and I understand why you want to expand, and I understand why you want a satellite, and I understand why you want to build here. I understand why you don't want to do either. I get it. My job as your leader now is to break the tie, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to build the satellite. And I realize that you might be right after all, but this is a decision we're going to make, and I need your commitment. Do you know that 99 out of 100 times, those people will support that decision even if they disagreed? We're not talking about moral, ethical decisions here. We're talking about what's the right thing to do. And when people know that they've been heard, not humored, but heard, and that their input has been factored into the decision, they can support things even if they disagreed. And when we don't have that conflict, we are begging them not to commit. Are they going to go, what are they going to do if we don't have the conflict and I make the decision? Are they going to go sabotage the new satellite church? No. I wish they would, because that would be far more interesting. But that only happens on TV and in the movies. In real life, what happens is far more boring and more dangerous. What they do is they passively commit. They nod their head and smile at the meeting, and then they go back to their department or their office and they say, I don't know if this is a good idea. And they tell people, yeah, I'm not sure this is a good idea. And then when they see an issue, they alligator arm things. They're like, oh, let me help you with that. Oh, no? Oh, okay. Or they see a train wreck about to happen, and instead of jumping out there and going, wait, they step back and they go, watch this. And then the leader calls them back and says, what's going on? And they said, well, I never really thought it was the right idea in the first place. Ooh, that's painful. That's why we have to get that out on the table up front. We have to demand that people weigh in. We have to demand that conflict so that we can get real commitment.